Good morning. I'd like to open the monthly meeting of the Washington County Board of Supervisors here on June 18th, 2021. And we have a little feedback here. Just give us a second and we will get that taken care of.
It was Roger. They can be screwed up all the time.
Welcome, everyone. Supervisor O'Brien, Supervisor Claire, would you listen prayer, please?
Dear Father, we thank you for any blessing. We pray for strength, health, employment, and such. Please continue to guide us as we reopen and remind us that prayer and love we can move forward. So today, let's celebrate being here in person. Today, let's celebrate graduation, celebrate smiles, vaccinations, and all the different things that we
Please rise to the pledge. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In case of fire or other emergency, there are 3 exits in this room, there, and there. In case of special emergency, please steer to the nearest exit, find the nearest stairway, go down the stairway and clear the building, exit the building, and leave as far away from the building as you can so rescue squads and emergency squads can do their job. Also, please silence your cell phone for this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor O'Brien. We will now do the roll call, please.
Mr. Hankey.
Yes.
Mrs. Fedler.
Here.
Mr. Ferguson.
Here.
Mr. Shaw.
Here.
Mr. Hall.
Here.
Mr. Loshaw.
Here.
Mr. Hicks.
Here.
Mr. Ward.
Here.
Mr. O'Brien.
Here.
Mr. Half is absent. Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Skelly.
Here.
Mr. Hogan.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mr. Clary. Here. Mr. Griffith.
Here.
Mr. Rozelle.
Here.
Can I just make one announcement? In order for the video and the live stream to work, you'll need to talk into your mic. Pick up all the sound in the room.
A little more normal.
Thank you, Tim. All right, this time I would like to recognize 2 employees who have retired after some long and faithful service here. Michael Stevens, who worked at the sheriff and the jail, spent 18 years and 10 months. And Thomas Quillen, who worked in the treasurer's office, Pleasant Valley, infirmary as well, 32 years of service. So thank you to them for their outstanding service over the years to the residents of Washington County. The condensed minutes from the May 21st, 2020 meeting are accepted as mailed unless there are any additions or corrections. Do we have any additions or any corrections? Seeing none, the minutes are accepted. Communications, staff, do we have any communications?
For communications from Warren County, we're in receipt of their resolution number 234, approving tentative operating budget for fiscal year 2021-2022 for Adirondack Community College and providing for public hearing. That's all I have for communications.
Thank you. Tim Hardy, would you give us our updated COVID report, please?
Morning, everybody. Just going to run through a quick update on where we are today. So we continue our coronavirus information site, which is updated daily with statistics. There are a couple of days where we've had a break of no updates for a day or two, but we do try and keep that updated every day as we go. Our active cases by town, we're still publishing that every Friday, and we continue to publish our vaccination efforts and those kind of things, as well as the e-newsletter. Public health operations are still running 7-day-a-week operations. Right now, they're able to staff weekends with their on-call nurse, with the cases coming down to where they are now. But they're still doing COVID operations on the weekends. As of right now, we have not done any weekend pods since just before Memorial Day. So they're getting a little break there, and we're trying to move more towards the week efforts now. Active case data, as of this morning, we have 27 people that are in quarantine or under monitoring of public health, 6 active positive cases right now, and 1 remains in the hospital. So this is the lowest we've seen those numbers in quite some time. So the active statistics by date, that's since we started tracking by every Friday back in May, so May 8th of 2020, all the way through last Friday. And there are historical statistics on the graph there. since day one when we started tracking actually back in March of last year. If people are still looking to be vaccinated, there still are local efforts that they can be vaccinated here through Washington County Public Health. Obviously, there's continuing efforts through the pharmacies locally. Healthcare providers in the state site in Queensbury is still operational. We're not sure how long that's going to stay operational as things start to calm down as far as the demand for vaccine, but as of right now, it still is. So our site, the state's MI-eligible site, and then obviously check it with your healthcare provider or with pharmacies. Just to run through, we do still have some additional pop-up clinics that we have left that we're doing community efforts. Those are in unison with the second dose ones that we did from our first round of community vaccination efforts. So on June 23rd from 4 to 6 p.m., the historic Salem Courthouse in Salem will be offering the J&J for walk-ins or appointments in addition to our second dose Pfizer there. We are going to the Putnam Firehouse on June 24th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. That'll be a walk-in for J&J in addition to the second dose Moderna that we offered there. And then the Georgie Museum in Shushan, the same on June 30th, 12 to 1 p.m. We'll be offering the J&J walk-in and partnered with the first dose that we did there. So as far as our vaccination tracking efforts, as of this morning, 29,334 people in Washington County with the completed vaccine series and at least 31,972 with one dose. So over 52.2% of our total population with at least one dose right now. Just to give everybody, this is a common question that we're getting now, is public health is tracking the breakthrough statistics, which are people who test positive after they've been fully vaccinated. So out of the 29,334 fully vaccinated, as of right now that we know of, we have 20 current breakthrough cases. 2 of them out of the 20 had been hospitalized. The remainder either had no symptoms or mild symptoms. And the breakdown by vaccine that we're tracking is 15 of those 20 had received the Pfizer, 4 had received the J&J, and 1 had received the Moderna. So just another quick thank you to Public Health and the remainder of the team, which is everybody, EMS, Buildings and Grounds, DPW, ADRC, our safety officer, county attorney, and Serve New York volunteers, and hopefully I'm not missing someone, to make those pods run. Even though they're getting smaller, it still takes effort, and certainly the community has really stepped up now that we're moving around the county and trying to get to those efforts. So our fire departments, the community efforts like the Georgie or the historic Salem Courthouse, everybody's been very welcoming and appreciative and helpful in setting those up. So we appreciate that we're able to get out into the community as well. And the last thing is testing is still continuing. You know, testing is going down or people are stopping to get tested as of right now. So there are still local efforts. The Warren County test site is still operational. The CVS pharmacies are still doing by appointment where you can drive in, you test yourself, you put it in and you can send it out. You can also buy an over-the-counter test now as well at most of your pharmacies. Hudson Headwaters is continuing to test at Moreau, Broad Street, West Mountain, and Warrensburg. The SUNY Albany test site is operational. And we're continuing that partnership with Cambridge EMS to keep that local testing capability down there in Cambridge. So that is all I have. Thank you very much.
Does anyone have any questions of Tim? Supervisor O'Brien.
Just out of curiosity, Tim, do we know how many Pfizer doses we gave versus Moderna?
We do. I don't have that number in front of me, though, but I can find that out for you.
I appreciate it.
Any other questions? Supervisor Shaw.
Yeah, question, Tim, is, are they tracking or do you know of any repeat cases of it has been tested positive for COVID and then been tested positive again?
Yes, there have been people that have tested positive multiple times. So they typically aren't tested again within that 90-day window. If they test once, they don't retest within 90 days and count as an additional positive, because we have had people that tested positive even after recovering within that 90-day window. And I can see about getting you that number too. I don't have it offhand, but.
Yeah, I was just curious if that is a large number or small.
Yep, I can find out for you. The one last thing that I will add that we are working on an additional larger scale vaccination effort that we'll be announcing next week. We're trying to do something jointly with the fair, which has been open to working with us. So look for that announcement early next week that we'll be doing a large scale vaccination effort there.
Okay. Very good. If there's no other questions, thank you, Tim. Committee reports, audit report, Supervisor Losaw.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the audit report be accepted.
We have a motion to accept the audit report. Do we have a second? Supervisor O'Brien, Supervisor Hogan, Supervisor Clary. Did I miss anyone? Hopefully not. Nope. James, you have your hand up, or is that, oh, okay, no, it's okay. That's very good. All right, we have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We have a proclamation, which everyone has a copy of, for the recognition of the 2021 valedictorian salutatorians representing the 10 schools and their communities in Washington County. I'd like to congratulate all of them on their success and their hard work to achieve that honor. They're both outstanding honors. Supervisors, privilege of the floor. So we have one. Supervisor Hogan.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recognize your resident, Councilwoman and business owner Jane Haven.
Okay. Yes, please. Rules of the floor are for supervisor's privilege. We have 5 minutes. Sandy, would you time that, please? 5 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jane Havens, and my family owns Calamity Jane's Firearms and Fine Shoes in Kingsbury. Thank you to Supervisor Hogan for privilege of the floor. Senate Bill S-7196 and Assembly Bill A-6762B passed both houses on June 8th. They label our industry, manufacturers, importers, distributors, and retailers of firearms and ammunition, as a public nuisance. It will hold law-abiding entities liable for the blatant misuse of our products. Assemblywoman Carrie Werner, Assemblyman Matt Simpson, and Senator Dan Steck voted no. Please set aside your mailing rule. Please put my resolution on the floor and vote positively to urge the governor not to sign this bill into law. Manufacturers, retailers, and individuals in Washington County need this show of support. It's time sensitive, and it will set a negative precedent of liability on other lawful businesses. There's no precedent for an industry to be held civilly liable for a product's misuse. There's good and bad in everything. There's good people and there's bad people. We can't legislate the good and expect to correct the bad. We need mental health research initiatives. It's a complex concept. It's hard to maneuver, and especially while we're protecting individuals' civil liberties, and that's why we avoid it. Society takes the path of least resistance when trying to make a correction, and many times misses the mark. This bill does nothing to prevent a crime or violence to our citizens, and it will push the industry further underground. Law-abiding entities will leave the New York market. They have. Many people are not educated about the firearms industry. They create bad legislation that becomes bad laws. There are gray areas and things that are hard to interpret for the industry. Our New York gun laws are designed to restrict law-abiding citizens. They don't save people. Bad laws need to be changed or rescinded, and new bills like this one must not be signed. Billions of dollars from this industry develop valuable programs. Our industry funds the best conservation and wildlife management program in the world. Everyone, gun owner or not, benefits from this. Fix Next, Operation Safe Store, Project Child Safe, and Eddie Eagle are all programs within the industry. Washington County 4-H shooting sports has an unmatched quality and content to it. Machine shops in Washington County are making gun components for the best companies in the industry, therefore making them the best in the industry. There's a long tradition of shooting sports retailers. H.G. Moran was on John Street. His sons Brian and Mike with Moran's World of Sporting Goods. John Aiken worked for them since 14. He transitioned to his shop, John's Outdoor Sports, until retirement. How many families have a firearm that they purchased from Moran? How many people still have a box of 22s from the Joy store? We're not the problem. Long-standing historical manufacturers have taken jobs to other states. With this bill signed, we could see manufacturers, distributors, and shops transacting business in other states. They'll stop transacting in New York State. Dealers could be done instantly. It's already happening. Tuesday, I was notified that my insurance carrier will no longer offer the program due to the risk and exposure. I pay my premiums, and I've never had a claim. Calamity Jane's legacy in the sporting industry is the Southern Adirondack High School Clay Target Association. It was formed by my friend George Gedney, your 4-H shooting sports instructor and coordinator. In 2018, we helped start over 10 high school trap teams, somewhere over 15 now that we've assisted, through the USA Clay Target League. Since 2001, there has never been an accident to student, athlete, advisor, or spectator across the country. They have shot over millions of shotgun rounds. It's the safest high school sport in the nation. It's the fastest growing. 6th to 12th graders, public or homeschooled, boy or girl, small frame or large frame, or handicapped are all, they can all participate equally. It is the most inclusive thing that any school can do for a student. We have a blind student who shoots in Bolton. We have a wheelchair-bound student who shoots in Galway. We have an autistic student from Truthville Christian Academy. Tardiness and truancy is down in these children that are participating in the High School Clay Target League. They're reaching kids that have never participated, and some are now considering higher education so they can continue to compete. In the entire New York State, Whitehall, you're first in your conference. Argyle, you're second. Granville is third in their conference, and Truthville Christian Academy is fourth. We have 5 kids between Whitehall, Argyle, and Truthville that have won state conference awards. Fort Ann, your students showed immense leadership this year. Hudson Falls, our coach, was bullied by his peers, but has modeled the best program that is used across the state, and we set the bar and made the magazine. Lastly, Kristen Cheney from Hartford, who never did anything in school, called his school superintendent, called his friends, went to board meetings, started their high school trap team. He worked for me, and now he builds parts in a machine shop in Washington County. So on behalf of my company and other Washington County dealers, we are the resource for the tools of our industry that is good, and we have the right to do good business without frivolous retribution. And I thank you so much for everyone for taking the time to listen to my presentation today.
Thank you, Jane, for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that has supervisor's privilege of the floor? Seeing none, thank you. We will move on to introduction to resolutions. We need a motion to set aside the rules for resolution 133 and 134. Do we have a motion? Moved by Supervisor Hanke, seconded by Supervisor Shaw. Do we have any other seconds? Any discussion? Carried.
Resolution number 133 by Supervisor Shaw, Hall, Clary, title Opposing Closure of Troy VA Outpatient Clinic. Resolved that Washington County joins the call of its state and local representatives in requesting that the VA reconsider the closing of the Troy VA Outpatient Clinic, and be it further resolved that the VA continue essential services to our rural veterans to ensure they receive the quality of care they deserve. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be sent to Senator Steck, Senator Jordan, Senator Breslin, Assemblywoman Warner, Assemblyman Simpkins, Assemblyman McDonald, and Ashton, and Darlene Delancey, Executive Director of VA Healthcare Upstate New York and Rensselaer County. Resolution number 134 by Supervisor Hogan. Resolved, the Washington County Board of Supervisors, on behalf of the employees of local manufacturers, machine shops, retailers, and residents of Washington County, urge the Governor of the State of New York to not sign this bill into law. And be it further resolved that certified copies of the resolution be forwarded to the Governor of the State of New York, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, Senator Charles Schumer, Senator Kristen Gillibrand, Senator Dan Steck, Assemblywoman Carrie Warner, Assemblyman Matt Simpson, New York State Association of Counties, and the Intercounty Legislative Committee of the Adirondacks.
Thank you, Deb. So now we'll move into the consideration of the resolutions, please.
Resolution number 116 by Supervisor Sedler, Campbell, Hicks, Shaw, Shelley, Roselle, title Resolution of the Board of Supervisors of Washington County, establishing the Board of Supervisors of Washington County as lead agency pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act relative to the proposed project of the application by the Board of Supervisors to the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Places Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid application for the year 2021-2022.
Do we have a motion to move that forward?
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution 116.
Moved by Supervisor Fedler. Do we have a second? We have Supervisor Shaw, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Rozelle, Supervisor Ward, and Supervisor Ferguson. Anyone else I missed? Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 117 by Supervisors Fedler, Campbell, Hicks, Shaw, Kelly, Rozelle, title Resolution of the Board of Supervisors of Washington County issuing a negative declaration pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act relative to the proposed project of the application by the Board of Supervisors to the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Places Snowmobile Trail Grant and Aid application for the year 2021 through 2022.
We have a motion to move it.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 117.
Moved by Supervisor Fedler. Seconds, please. Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Shaw, Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Rozelle, Supervisor Campbell. Is there any discussion?
Actually, there needs to be discussion because, number one, secret requires it, and number two, the resolution says we have discussion. So I'm going to call your attention to the short form that was passed out. The reason negative recommendation, negative declaration is indicated because it's following, in the first part of the changes, it's following the bike path, which the state has already done the secret for, so it's going along something that's already established. And number two, the short reroute is across lands that will not be negatively impacted, as you can see by the remainder of the form where it's filled out and talks about the kind of lands of this crossing. So that is the reason why the staff recommendation was to do a negative declaration. The rest of the activity of the clubs will be simply trail maintenance of existing trails, brush cutting, and things like that.
Is there any question or discussion on the discussion? Has this been explained? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 118 by Supervisors Skelly, Rozelle, Campbell, Half, Hicks, Fedler, Shaw, Ferguson, Wilson, title, a resolution authorizing the implementation and funding in the first instance 100% of the federal aid and state Marchicelli program aid eligible costs of a transportation federal aid project and appropriating funds therefore, supplemental agreement number 1, CR 35 and CR 36 pavement preservation, US 4 to Warren County line, Town of Kingsbury.
Do we have a motion to move it?
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution number 118.
Moved by Supervisor Skelly. Do we have seconds?
Second.
Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Rozelle, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Wilson. Have I missed anyone? Is there any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Aye.
Resolution number 119 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Fedler, Hogan, Clary, Rozelle, Ward, Griffith, title to amend capital project number 128, Marchicelli Grant Project, CR 35 and CR 36 pavement preservation.
Moving resolution number 119.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Do we have a second? Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Rozelle, Supervisor Skelly. Anyone else? Supervisor Ward. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 120 by Supervisors Fedler, Campbell, Hicks, Shaw, Skelly, Rozelle, title make appointments to the Hudson River Community Advisory Group.
You have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, moving resolution 120.
Moved by Supervisor Fedler. Do we have second? Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Rozelle, Supervisor Skelly, Supervisor Hogan, Supervisor Shaw, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Ferguson. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 121 by Supervisors Skelly, Roselle, Campbell, Half, Hicks, Sedler, Shaw, Ferguson, titled to write off uncollectible accounts receivable, Sewer District Number 2.
Moving resolution number 121.
Moved by Supervisor Skelly. Do we have a second, please? Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Shaw, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Roselle, Supervisor Campbell. Is there any, Supervisor Losaw. Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried.
Resolution number 122 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Fedler, Clary, Losaw, Griffith, titled set time and place for a public hearing concerning the 2021-2022 Adirondack Community College budget.
Moving resolution number 122.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Seconds, please. Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, and I don't believe I missed anyone. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 123 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Fedler, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Losaw, Ward, Griffith, titled to amend health insurance fund for FSA accounts.
Moving resolution 123.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Seconds, please. Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Henke.
Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Losaw, Ward, Griffith, title amend Community Development Fund for TANF Summer Youth Employment Funding.
Moving resolution 124.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Do you have a second, please? Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Roselle. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 125 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Fedler, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Losaw, Ward, Griffith, title awarding proposal for WIOA Adult and Youth Services, proposal number 2021-21 and 2021-22, beginning July 2021 and ending June 2024.
Moving resolution number 125.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Do we have seconds, please? Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, and Supervisor Roselle. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 126 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Fedler, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Losaw, Ward, Griffith, title amend DSS budget for emergency rental assistance program.
Moving resolution number 126.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Seconds, please. Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Roselle. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Henke.
I wish that more people had taken advantage of this, or would take advantage of this. Tried hard to publicize it around the town of Argyle. I think we've got one renter and that is actually making use of it. So we've had a lot of our landlords, small landlords in the county have been really hurt and damaged throughout COVID by the lack of rent being paid. The way to deal with it, and I don't know why on earth people aren't taking more advantage of it. We've had very low response to this. I don't know what more I could have done in Argyle. I've done everything I possibly could to get it out to people, and I think I'm not alone. I believe other supervisors have done the same. I just don't know why people aren't dealing with this program more.
Thank you, Bob. Any other comments? Supervisor Hogan.
Yeah, one of the feedback that is given on this program is that it's still tenant driven. It doesn't have the cooperation of the tenant owners.
Yeah, I understand that.
Within the past year, that relationship between tenants and landlords has definitely been great.
comments? Not, all in favor? Aye? Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 127 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Fedler, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Ward, Griffith, title to amend County Road 2021 budget for CHIPS, Pave New York, and Extreme Winter Recovery Funds.
Moving resolution 127.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, seconded by Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Roselle, Supervisor Skelly. Any discussion? All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 128 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Fedler, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Ward, Griffith, title amend County Road Fund budget for unspent Water Quality Improvement Program grant, MS4.
Moving resolution number 128.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Seconds, please. Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Roselle, Supervisor Skelly. Is there any discussion? All in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 129 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Fedler, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Ward, Griffith, title amend County Road Fund budget for unspent grant funds for Dr. Johnson and Cemetery Roads Bridge Preservation Project.
Moving resolution 129.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. Seconds, please. Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Ward, and Supervisor Skelly. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 130 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Fedler, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Ward, Griffith, title amend County Road Fund budget for unspent grant funds for County Route 46 pavement preservation project.
Do we have a motion?
Moving resolution number 130.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell, seconded by Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Skelly, Supervisor Roselle. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Aye.
Resolution number 131 by Supervisors Campbell, O'Brien, Hicks, Fedler, Hogan, Clary, Roselle, Ward, Griffith, title accept funding from Lake Champlain Basin Program for purchase of brine maker.
Moving resolution 131.
Moved by Supervisor Campbell. You have a second? Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Roselle. Is there any discussion? Yes, sir.
One thing, when you see the anticipated funding of $132,000, that includes the local match. So that's the overall project cost. It's about a $5,000 local match that we're providing in kind. So your actual retail price is going to be $5,000 less.
Thank you, Roger. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Resolution number 132 by Supervisor Hall, title appoint member to the counties of Warren and Washington Industrial Development Agency and Civic Development Corporation.
I'll move resolution number 132. Do we have a second? Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Hogan, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Roselle. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Henke.
Just wanted to thank Bruce Ferguson. He's been on there a long time. Been a lot of effort, so I want to thank him.
He spent many years. Supervisor O'Brien.
You beat me to it, Bob. I was going to say that Bruce has been a very valuable member. I think that it is now 29 years he's been on the IDA. He's going to continue on the IDA as a CEO of the organization to help the continuity and his experience in there. So we thank Bruce for his efforts.
Thank you, Dave. Is there further discussion? Supervisor Campbell.
Steve? that later.
Any further discussion? Yes, so, sorry.
Just as Bruce being from the town of Salem, I would like to,
Thank you, Sue. Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing or hearing none? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
And abstain.
Abstention, okay. Then Matt abstained. Supervisor Hicks.
Resolution number 133 by Supervisor Shaw, Hall, Clary, title opposing closure of Troy VA Outpatient Clinic.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move resolution 133.
Moved by Supervisor Shaw. Do we have a second? Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Hogan, Supervisor Rozelle, Supervisor Skelly, Supervisor Campbell. Did I miss anyone who wanted to be included?
Was that a unanimous second? It sounded like it was.
I believe it is. Supervisor Griffith? Okay.
Very good.
I believe it's unanimous second, if we're correct there, Deb. Okay. Yes, Supervisor Shaw.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to amend this resolution because in the resolve, it was left out, and I think it should be in there that, this also be sent to our Congresswoman Elise Stefanik and our Senators, Charles Schumer and Senator, Gillibrand.
Okay.
And I'd like to suggest to Mr. Shaw that he also amend the name of our assemblyman. There was a great teacher in Ticonderoga by the last name of Simpkins, who was a legend in that town, and my brain must have channeled my old Ticonderoga, and that's when I wrote Assemblyman Simpson's name in there.
It's Ashby instead of Ashby.
Is it Ashby? That I copied from somebody else. It's
Ashby.
Yeah, okay.
I also would like to add that to my amendment.
So no insult was intended by that. We also have a probation officer by the name of Simpkins, so I don't know what happened there. My fingers.
Do we know if the executive director's name is ready?
Yeah, well, again, that was Clear County, that was Clear County resolution. I'm gonna go with yes.
We got it. Okay. So we have the motion for the amendment. Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Supervisor Hicks, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Clary, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Henke, Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Rozelle, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Hogan. I don't think we missed anybody else. Okay, is there any discussion? Supervisor Campbell?
Sam, since you were head of the veterans, is there another back channel also? Is there anyone else or any method we can go through to, because I think this is very important to our veterans.
It is important to our veterans, and there are two types of models, and I'm not sure what's driving this yet. I talked to Ken downstairs, the veterans. He had just heard on it. He was researching the avenue of it. The VA has two different types of outpatient clinics. We have the one in Clifton Park, for example, which is what they call a staff model, and those are all federal employees. They're VA employees, and then the CBOCs, the outpatient clinics, like we have in Glens Falls, and like the one they have, and I'm not sure about the one in Rensselaer, what that is. But those are all, is it CBOC also? Okay. So those are managed by another company. Those are independent. Like maybe North Carolina would put out a thing on that and want to run it. Those are not federal employees. Those are contracted medical service companies that come in and do that. And they may be in a contract, not finding anybody to do it as we speak. I'm not sure what the reason for that is, but it certainly serves our veterans, and we certainly need that location there. I know there was a few years back they tried to do away with it as well. And back then it was because of staffing purposes.
As a follow-up, is there an opportunity if we aren't able to salvage this facility, could there be an outreach to say Austin Headwaters or something to have one more locally in our area?
Normally what they do is they set that out by bid. It's done by population of the veterans. And that may be because of VA, Albany being so close to the Troy area, that might be part of the rationale behind it. Really don't know. Ken was going to research that and get back to us and let us know. But this is something that I think that we should obviously support because it affects those veterans in our area. Yeah.
Just FYI, that clinic in Troy services approximately 1,200 veterans.
Yeah. we have other veterans that are served in Bennington, Vermont, and then up in the northern part, we have a lot of Whitehall or Greenville individuals that go over to White River Junction, rather than using the clinic here because they were established before the clinic and they like going over there, to meet the same doctors and that type of stuff. So, yeah, thank you, Dan, for locating this and putting it together here. Is there any other further discussion on that? If not, all in favor of the amendment? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried? Now the original motion. Aye, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I apologize. I was trying to figure out if I had to re-motion it again or not. All right. Any discussion? Carried. I guess we should vote on it though, shouldn't we? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Carried. Thank you.
Resolution number 134 by Supervisor Hogan, title urging the New York State Governor to not sign New York State Bill F-07196/A-06762B, entitled An Act to Amend the General Business Law in relation to the dangers to safety and health and creation of a public nuisance caused by the sale, manufacturing, distribution, importing, and marketing of firearms into law.
Chairman, moving resolution number 134.
Moved by Supervisor Hogan. Do we have seconds? Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Hanke, Supervisor Shaw, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Rozell, Supervisor Skelly, Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor O'Brien. Supervisor Wilson. Is there any discussion? Supervisor Hicks.
Piggybacking on Dan's last resolution, didn't we add Assemblyman Ashby and Senator Jordan to that? State representatives as part of Washington County?
Yes, we should.
Would Dana allow an amendment to add those two to the resolve?
Okay.
So I move that amendment.
We have a motion for an amendment. Do we have a second? Okay, we have numerous seconds there. Can I get your hands back up, please? Just so we get them all on record here. Supervisor Fedler, Supervisor Losaw, Supervisor Hanke, Supervisor Griffith, Supervisor Wilson, Supervisor Ward, Supervisor Ferguson, Supervisor Hogan, Supervisor Campbell, Supervisor Skelly, Supervisor Rozell, and Supervisor O'Brien. Is there any discussion on the amendment? Supervisor Clary? No? Okay, I'm sorry, Sue. All right. Okay. No discussion? All in favor of the amendment? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Now we'll go to the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Supervisor Clary?
Chairman, I would like to ask Dana a question if possible.
Sure.
I come from a long-standing hunting family. Everyone here, we've got 22s in the ammunition.
We can't hear you.
You know how to use it? Okay. In the resolution, they talk about firearms. Firearms, not the 22, they're not the 30, they're not the 32. Well, they are, but the dogs are probably more than that. Can you define what firearms?
ATF has a specific definition that I can't quote right at the moment. It's fairly simple, but firearms in regards to this are rifles, shotguns,
They have the mic.
they are taxed.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's so we can get it on the Zoom. I apologize. I should have told you.
For anyone that didn't hear the first part, the ATF defines the firearm. It's easily accessible on the internet. I don't have the definition with me today. But in layman's terms, a firearm is under especially in Pittman-Robertson, there's an excise tax on rifles and shotguns. There is a of 11%, there's a separate excise tax on handguns, which are pistols and revolvers. And then, of course, your ammunition they're all considered small arms. Is there anything else I could define for you?
Just the definition of firearm, sometimes I use personally, and, talking with other people. Firearms can be used in a way that brings joy to families and to people out doing, competitions, and there's other times that it can be very disruptive. And you brought up the mental health component, I appreciate that, but I think with everything that has been happening over the last, years, we have to look at everything. I think firearms definition is a good place to start.
There's different classes of firearms, yes, that are a lot of detail for the industry, yes.
So, as much as I believe and know that we're from Washington County, and this one that we're shooting a 22 or 30, the definition of firearms. So, thank you for coming, for promoting Washington firearms. I think they answer the better. Grouping everything together. That would be protective of sports here. We were able to do that. I appreciate it.
Supervisor Campbell.
Yeah, my comment, I'm gonna go to a little different level here. I don't think we realize the amount of, it's not just James, there's a lot of them throughout the county, and there's a lot of online places, and the ATF actually controls all of them. I've had calls about the online people in my town that I didn't even know existed from the ATF, and so I know they keep track of that. But my concern here is whatever government does costs more money than it should usually. We're part of that government, and we try to control that. But if we take away the fact that people need to be accountable for their own actions, we can never afford a society where people aren't accountable for their own actions. And you can't make every level more accountable than the one before. It gets down to the personal aspect here, and I hope everyone is accountable for their own action. The world revolves on lawsuits at the moment, but this is a case where you can only cost business. This will cost sales tax. This will cost a lot of things to our town. And so therefore, I think that the governor shouldn't sign this. And I hope that we're all aware of the far-reaching component when people aren't held accountable for their own actions. Bill reform is one of the first ones.
Is there any further discussion? Supervisor Shaw.
Yeah, this is very disturbing, this type of, legislation. And I am really shocked and disappointed that it got through our state assembly and senate. And I'll tell you how I would compare it. I agree with what Brian is saying. If you had wild dogs, they consider them a nuisance, and they're dealt with. But that's the same thing for this resolution or legislation, I should say, is it's all dogs are a nuisance. And so you can't do that. And that's what this is doing. Stick within your parameters of what the problem is. And I agree with comments Sue made. There are problems. And Jane admits there's problems. But don't make it such a blanket mess as this. I mean, a feral cat is a feral cat, but all cats aren't feral. But that's how they're treating this, and it's wrong. And I hope he does not pass that. Terrible.
Any further discussion? Supervisor Henke.
I had a conservation officer who worked for me. We went down to 9/11, and he ultimately died of cancer complications that he got from getting the stuff down at 9/11. And his widow applied for the survivor's benefit, wound up being 2 days late. That's the deadline by 2 days. We had to have a special bill in to allow her to get the benefits. And for the past 4 years, the legislature has refused to bring that bill forward to give one lady in Thurman, New York, benefits, I think that she, very richly and graciously deserves. Because they thought it might open too much of a can of worms. Might be the other people that might apply. Yet something like this will fly through and, blaze through the committee without even discussion. It's a horrifying concept on our form of government right now. Really disappointed, like Dan said, that they actually bad. Much less even get out of committee.
Discussion? Okay, seeing none. All in favor, signal by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. All right, and that moves us on to the supervisor's comments. Supervisor O'Brien.
As Brian indicated, this week, the IDA has hired a permanent executive director. With everything going on, there's more to do, and all the elected officials who on the board and the board of directors have main jobs, and it takes a lot of time and effort. So we've moved to the step to get a permanent executive director to see if that will help us make sure we're in compliance and follow all the guidelines, and also get to assist in helping businesses grow, survive, and expand in Washington, and relocate to Washington County and Warren County. Many of you know the individual. His name is Michael Osgrander. Used to be the executive, worked for Elise, and also worked for Gestapo during his election. So looking forward to having him join us.
Thank you, Dave. Any other comments? Supervisor Henke.
We got a couple of things. We had a plane crash yesterday at the Argyle Airport. Salem resident, fellow I know pretty well, a fairly prominent local businessman and attorney. He's in serious condition right now. We've had a couple of pretty bad crashes over there the past dozen years or so. But I wanted to put forth my hope that he recovers and better. Secondly, our 4th of July parade is canceled. It's canceled because we've been absolutely unable to get any bands. Nobody has practiced throughout all this. And went through their whole list of bands, and they were able to get one bagpiper and one fife player. They decided to cancel the parade for that reason. I understand there will be some form of parade on the 3rd of July, and I guess I can't, from my position, talk about it much, but I understand there will be a parade, and there will be a fireman's chicken barbecue on July 3rd also. In keeping with this, the notorious town supervisor in the town of Argyle is going to proclaim Fiscal Day. It's always Fiscal Day in the town of Argyle. It was celebrated for years and years and years. They stopped back in the 40s sometime. The 3rd Saturday in September is going to, from now on in perpetuity, be Fiscal Day in the town of Argyle. We will celebrate Fiscal Day this year. We will have a parade. It will be essentially our 4th of July parade. There will be hopefully some concerts down in the Tractor-Pull area. We're trying to get a real nice pipe band to come into a concert for an hour or so. There will be a fireman's chicken barbecue on Fiscal Day, and there will be fireworks in town of Argyle on Fiscal Day, unless I get shot down by my insurance company. Okay. So
Don't say fireworks and shot down.
Well,
Especially with insurance person.
I guess it would probably not be town fireworks then, but I presume there'll be fireworks anyway. So, just like there probably will be on the 4th of July. So, mark your calendars. The 3rd Saturday in September, which I believe is the 18th, will be Fiscal Day this year. And there is a stimulus work group meeting right after over. We'll be up in the classroom, despite the fact that I bullied and didn't tell Debbie about it. I just wanted to talk about this, maybe one of our last meetings. I just wanted to say, of all the things little committees and things I've had been associated with in my tenure at the county, this has been one of the most
very focused on getting something done, and we've gotten something done. I'm very pleased with the way it came out, very gratified to have worked with that group. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Shaw.
Yes, I'd like to announce this tomorrow, Saturday, is the Tour of the Battenkill. It starts in Washington County Fairgrounds, and they have 3 different races. They have a 24-mile race, which is totally contained within the town of Easton, and it has an elevation climb of 1,375 feet. That's for, I guess, the novices, maybe the older people. And then there's going to be a 45-mile race, which focuses on mostly southern Washington County, and that has an elevation climb of over 3,000 feet. And then the most grueling one, which is a 75.7-mile race, and it covers all of southern Washington County, including a little bit of Argyle, Hebron, and every town south. And that has an elevation climb of 4,822 feet. And we have one of our own supervisors sitting here today that has entered a 75-mile race. So let's watch and see how he does.
Best sweeper in the industry. Bring up the rear.
Thank you.
Given his history, I would expect him to be in all 3 races. I don't know.
Any other supervisor comments? Supervisor Clarity.
I have a few, or 2. Looking back over this past year, I realized that, we have got 3 women in this office that are, they keep us going straight. And that would be Debbie and Sandy and Stacy. And throughout this past year, I don't know that, we let you know how much we appreciate the 3 of you. So I just wanted to say publicly thank you. Yes, you keep us going in the right direction, so we appreciate that. Okay. The other thing, Salem is going to have their art contest in a different manner. We are having a bluegrass band in the gazebo. Like Bob, bands are hard to get because they have to practice, but we did get a bluegrass band that came from Maryland with the idea that they could have a 4-day vacation for free. So they're here, and they're going to have food trucks and everything in the village park. It just looks like it's great. The other thing we had going on this past week is, many of you know Stacy Rich. He's the coach of the Lady Generals softball team. They won the Section 2 Class B champions, and for Salem, it was a momentous event. We had parades and cars, book shooting, and excitement, and that went on for about like a week. So it was just absolutely wonderful to watch these young girls and coach be so excited and do that. The other thing is, during the COVID, we had 2 guys, Jared and Kyle West, that came up from Texas, decided to buy a theater, then decided to make it a not-for-profit during the theater, and their first show is tonight. It's the Marvelous Wonderette. They have one show that's not sold out yet. So why I bring it up is Iris Rogers, who is our Board of Elections Republican chair, is one of the headliners. She is fabulous. She's got a voice and a personality that fits this type. So that starts tonight. That's happening. Nice to be open again.
Very good. Thank you, Sue. James.
We had a situation in White Creek yesterday, at Black Hole Hollow, and I just wanted to thank all the fire departments that assisted. We had fire departments from Easton, fire departments from Greenwich as well, but all the departments that came out and assisted, the Cambridge Volunteer Fire Department who assisted in that yesterday. We appreciate all the support that came from the other towns, so thank you.
Supervisor Campbell.
A couple of things, Tom brought to my attention when he was talking about his plane crash. When I was mowing the hay 2 days ago, 2 Army planes went over, and I thought there was going to be a crash because they were really close to trees, and they had a lot of mountain to climb yet. So I'm not
seen those lately, so I was kind of surprised that since they were Army green, I have to believe they were Army, but I don't know what they were doing, but I gasped because I didn't know if they were gonna make it, but they did, so whatever they were doing.
I like seeing those training plates.
Yeah, well, there were shadows over me, twice in a row within 30 seconds, and I'm like, what is going to happen? Anyways, but more on a solemn note, we lost John Allen, who was an employee of Hebron for 35 years of our highway department. Last of a group of huge families, the Allen family. John was one of 14 children, and he left 9 children. And he was a man of faith and a man that lived it, and one of the nicest people he'd ever met. And growing up, I always recalled he was the greater man. He was a nice man, and yeah, he still lose people like that. But it does happen in due time.
Thank you, Brian. Anyone else? Mr. Ward, yes, sir.
Tomorrow, Greenwich, we're having the Whipple City Festival from 1 to 6. The businesses will be out. There'll be food trucks. They'll be along Main Street in the village. So all are welcome to come to Greenwich. Near the end of it is the Argyle Brewery. So if you walk the whole way down, there can be some refreshment at the other end for you. But busy day in the area with traffic. So be careful between the bike race and the Whipple City Fair. There's going to be a few streets closed. But all are welcome and hope to see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Don. I have a comment here too. I want to give a thank you to two supervisors, to Supervisor Hogan and Supervisor Half. I got this a phone call from Supervisor Hogan to just give me a heads up and let me know, and he gave me a tracking of what was taking place. But we were going to have an arrival of a load, maybe a couple loads of human biological waste. It was going to come into the town of Fort Anne. It was moving from Kingsbury to Fort Anne. And I really appreciated the heads up because it gave us an opportunity to let the people know what was coming and what was taking place. And it wasn't just brought in by somebody and dropped there. So it gave us an opportunity. And of course, Supervisor Half kind of intercepted to make sure it wasn't dumped in Hartford, and it got all the way to the delivery in the town of Fort Anne. But we got it all taken. We got it all taken care of. You know, it's out there. It's a product that was a product that it's waste product from sewage. It had been treated supposedly, and brought it over to spread on the fields. And then we had the rain, and then when the rain comes and it gets wet, and then heat comes out, it starts cooking and baking, and it's absolutely horrendous to smell. So it got moved from one of the farms in Kingsbury over to the farm in Fort Anne. And seriously, all kidding around, I do appreciate the heads up because it gave us a time to let our residents know it was going to come, what the smell was going to be from, and to then address it from another channel to eventually get it off from our land over there. So, thank you again. I'm serious when I say that, okay? All right, any other comments or anything else to come before the meeting board member this time? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Sure.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Be safe.
Thank you.